Government is the place where cybersecurity is given number one priority. How can we protect something without knowing what do we have? I think we are not at all doing good job as an industry. 82 to 92% of the enterprise security budgets are being spent in security. Anything other than protecting data. Data awareness is the foundation. Should be a
Mhm.
foundation of security. Most of the money, right, for those security value proposition is gone for marketing rather than actually solving some meaningful product. If somebody can answer me that I know my all data, right, what my data assets are, and I'm able to protect them, I think that's a very happy answer I would love to get.
Hello and welcome to a super special cybersecurity episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. I had recently been to very interesting meetup at Palo Alto Networks, and it just opened my eyes about how hot the cybersecurity landscape is and how quickly this space is changing. This is probably the most innovative field because artificial intelligence is disrupting every single industry, and everybody is concerned about data privacy and data security. Today, we have with us an extremely enterprising entrepreneur in this space by name Samir Ahirrao. He is the CEO and founder of Ardent Privacy. What amazes me about Samir is he's currently a founder from East Coast, and the way he has built his startup on a shoestring budget in the cyber security space and how he's targeting a very hot and up and coming segment in this space really excite me. So without further ado, let's bring Samir on the podcast and learn all about his fascinating startup journey. Samir, welcome to Pitch Cafe podcast. Truly an honor to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having Vidya, and absolutely great to hear from you. And of course, always happy to data security and the AI governance is coming up a pretty like number one issue on a lot of like organizations roadmap when you implement those technologies and tools. But first of all, thanks for having me, and really excited for this conversation right here from Baltimore, Maryland.
Maryland, wonderful. Beautiful place, beautiful weather. Samir, tell us, you were in the cybersecurity industry for almost 25 years. And somewhere down the lane, you saw the problems cropping up again and again. You took the plunge. You went into the startup journey. Tell us, what was that moment when you decided, hey, I'm going to go and build a startup? And you built it on a shoestring budget. So tell us all about your startup journey.
Yeah. So let me go a little bit back, right? Let me tell you my journey. So I started actually working in cybersecurity in 1999. Almost dropped out of the premium one of the college PICT, and we actually went to Mumbai and helped one dot-com company convert into a security company. So you remember those dongles we used to use
Yes.
for the tally and those kind of softwares.
Yes.
So we built the whole licensing solution, basically reversing that whole code in assembly, and then basically knowing how they are protected, so they can be actually protected. You pack those EXs. So wonderful. It's been my passion, but point there is day one, right? Day one cybersecurity when nobody would even actually give you a job in India, right? That time. But really excited. Then I went to various journey early consulting companies in India where there was a lot of awareness, certification, then kind of consulting I did. And then later was with Deloitte, spent almost like 5 or 5.5 years with Symantec, both here in US as well as on the product side in India, and also spent some time at Deloitte, right, Big Four. So have kind of audit. So what started this journey was before starting Ardent almost 4.5 years ago. I used to work for Lockheed Martin, so almost spent a decade in the government space. And I always say, right, East Coast is where because government, if you see, cybersecurity, yeah, government is the hub for cybersecurity. We are hub to companies like Tenable, Sourcefire, because a lot of talent which got built in East, that's actually more than East Coast, because government is the place where cybersecurity is given number one priority. So I've been basically going through a lot of technologies, those revolutions, right from what we see today, right from vulnerability scanning to patching to network security, where this all checkpoint, right? Old era firewall companies started, and then it all was about the perimeter or kind of network security. So one thing I've been basically struggling with when I was actually implementing this technology in the enterprise environments, we are doing everything except knowing, right, what data we are protecting, and that's really the core theme of Ardent. And the word ardent means avid, right? So we are really passionate about the security, starting myself, and how we actually really secure the customer, right? So a lot of security conversation. If you see, still we are in 25 years of journey of malware protection. You go to all these conferences, and we still have the similar kind of solutions, right? Whether it's malware, network security, and just in kind of different. So cloud changes the conversation a little bit, but I think the core theme is, first we need to know what data we are protecting, and how can we protect something, right, without knowing what do we have, right? And I think we are not at all doing good job as an industry, and that's what I used to handle, like 150 projects here when I was actually working with Lockheed. Large projects, and go through basically the security architecture reviews. And I always ask these questions to all these, like rather, who are the stakeholders, that, hey, what exactly data I'm supposed to protect, right? What are my crown jewels? What are my data assets here? And I will always hear crickets. Then these industries, after we started, then people started talking about DSPM and all that. But look at the rather summarize the story. We are the enterprise software platform to discover, identify, and give you rapid visibility into your sensitive data, what you are supposed to project. And the key, or one of the most popular use case where a lot of our customers are using that, is privacy, right? Because privacy is the business driver. And now AI governance basically is going to be a big business driver, because eventually you need to see what data you're feeding to your AI tech, whether it's commercial off the shelf, or other you're using chat GPT or those kind of technologies. So we invented a concept called data bill of materials, right? And you
Data
search
bill of
Google.
materials.
Yeah. So you have a bill of material for everything in organization, right? You know, how many servers you have, how many applications you have. Do you really know what data I have, say, whether it's a project wise or it's organization wise? And how can I don't have the inventory of all data? I'm thinking about the entire enterprise data. So it's a difficult problem to solve, because you have so much data, right? And how much cycles you can actually having that. And I can go all about it, but absolutely, we basically privacy and discovery technology to help companies get their data bill of material. You may have heard of software bill of materials, which is comes from software supply chain, but I think data supply chain is even more important.
So, Samir, why do you use the word bill of materials? Bill of materials means these are the things which are there in your itinerary of purchase and you're paying money for that. That is bill of materials. But is it a metaphor, or literally is it the amount which you spend to maintain your data? Why do you pick that term? You could have picked anything. Why do you call it data bill of materials?
Yeah. So I know you must have been familiar with software bill of materials. So what happened, right? Like couple of big hacks, or actually a few more, where there were like whole bunch of congressional testimonies. I think which one was the last recent one, where people actually got hacked because the software, right? This all open source software ecosystem was at fault, right? So what basically the NIST and the whole concept came in is software, that I need to know, right, what exactly I have in my software, right? That's a software bill of materials. So on similar, I'm just give you analogy, and there is a whole article. If you just search data bill of materials, you should see my article. Number one is, you need to inventory what you are supposed to project. Say, for example, you are taking over a new IT project, right? And actually, you brought a good point, even from the purchase standpoint, right? That if you are actually provisioning a new the whole new system, you need to actually take security into the consideration as well, right? And for that, you need to know what you're protecting, what you have. So I think you need this data bill of material to meaningfully, right, know your data and then protect your data, right? So that's the whole concept to it. But please go ahead and read that article. I have pretty good awareness about it. You can also find on our website, ardentprivacy.ai.
So, Samir, that being said, let's dig a little deeper on your some of the case studies and partner programs your company is providing. How can we learn more about what your product is capable of? Can you share a few case studies for people who are interested to see how your product works?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things, so of course, our website is www.ardentprivacy.ai. And you can write ARDENT, of course, privacy dot AI. And use cases, financial services, healthcare, a lot of things. But we are live actually in one of the largest bank, or rather, I would say the top 10 bank in the world, HDFC Bank. Very familiar name in India. I don't know everybody's aware, but it's almost we are scanning their almost like 180 applications, and we basically go to the almost 1,000 applications, huge environment overall. So financial services is being big vertical where we get a lot of traction. Entertainment sector is another, right? Defense sector is another. We did some interesting work even in the e-commerce space. But the use cases are, I'll tell you the like prime use cases, and you may have actually heard some of them. So of course, when I'm implementing a brand new AI governance or privacy program, I need to know, right? I need to do my assessment, like data risk assessment, privacy impact assessment, AI risk assessment. So we handle basically two part of that. One is the discovery, which is our patented technology, but we also actually help on the workflow side of it. So you get kind of end to end. So number one, you can actually we have a low code or rather almost a no code platform where you can build your entire basically workflows assessment, because privacy regulations like CCPA, GDPR, they have ton of requirements where you need to do this assessment annually. And also from the risk assessment perspective, that's the you need to do that on the when you basically bring on the new application. So we automate all those workflows, and once that is done, we actually help discover what all data you have and create your data bill of material. Also, there are certain requirements. Now, with the, I don't know, you are California, but you can actually go and ask Google or anybody that give me my data, opt out of basically certain communications, or don't sell my data, do not sell. That's a big one for CCPA. So we actually discover across all these humongous data sets like petabytes, zettabytes of data, and we bring you that intelligence.
I was listening to these talks, right? I went to this Palo Alto network event, and then a lot of people said encrypting data is used to be cool, but not anymore. It's become a very small market. There are a lot of issues with it. Why can't you encrypt data? Why do we have to have this whole product line with data bill of materials? Why can't you just encrypt the data and end it there?
Very good question. Huh? Overall, right? So encrypt all, correct? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't we keep it light, low bandwidth, fast, portable? Why do we have to do all this due diligence, this impact assessment? This seems like a lot of work, but why? What is the reason encryption is failing?
Yeah, and actually, that's a very good question. With that, I didn't expect that, but that actually reminds me to ask you another question, right? What is the difference between security and privacy
Right,
overall, right? Right. So
right,
encryption is a good control, correct?
correct.
But it's not everything, because every encryption will be dead in 3 years, and now probably 3 minutes with quantum. So your data hygiene, right? Your prioritization of what you are protecting, right? That's not going to take encryption. So of course, but what to encrypt, right? And if you're saying that I'm doing a mass encryption, how you going to basically meet the privacy control? Because see, encryption can take one control, but it's usually at the mass level, right? Overall. So you have master key for decrypting that data, but privacy is about transparency. So how to responsibly use that data. So for example, your Google and Facebook and all these social media, they have the number one or rather very good resources thrown at security. Does that mean basically Actually it's private. Basically responsibility, right, and transparency. That's a control, and for that you have to decrypt your data, right? So that's number one, and which encryption is a control. But at some point in time, or rather, it was that cycles are even going faster. But I don't think you can actually achieve the transparency. So absolutely, I mean, we are not saying don't encrypt data, but what to encrypt, what to have, that you first need to know, right? That's
Yeah.
where. But I'll tell you all the data classification and all those. Those are the basically pointers, right? Or what we can actually give, and then you can encrypt that data. And I know there are like lot of vendors who partner, and they can actually take it from there, but that is the control later, right? And number two is with quantum encryption, or rather you cannot assume that data will be encrypted all the time. So there is a concept called data minimization, I know. So data minimization in privacy, right? So
Right.
you can, and that's very important in security as well, because you can only hack something if you have it there, right? Why you have all this excess data on the server, right? Overall, what you have supposed to have more information about individuals, right? Or whatever sensitive data, more sensitive data. So if you minimize data, it's a hygiene control, right? And that
Correct.
does not mean that I'll take all the bad and good data and encrypt it for a while and I'm done. I wish that could be. But long story short, I'll give you one solid example. 90%, right? 82 to 90. And it was in like my LinkedIn feed like 4 or 5 years ago. And actually, one of the vendor did that survey very well, that 82 to 92% of the enterprise security budgets are being spent in security, anything other than protecting data. So controls
Hmm.
like encryption, visibility, discovery. So rest, where all that money is going? Malware protection and endpoint protection. So when you say endpoint, means desktops, right? And you're not supposed to keep sensitive data, or rather mass enterprise sensitive data in desktop anyway. And that's where we are putting, or enterprises are putting most of the resources. So even encryption control, right? That's what that was that all survey about, the controls like whatever we are doing, or encryption and all, basically anonymization. But to just set the ground clear, we do anonymization, right? What from privacy standpoint, data subject request standpoint, we do get into that. But of course, encryption is a good control, but that is not the control.
Yeah, wonderful. Also, Samir, this cybersecurity is such a big landscape. Tell us all the various domains which exist in this cybersecurity landscape and why your domain matters. I know you mentioned ransomware. I know you mentioned encryption. I know you mentioned a bunch of other things. But here you are in focusing on data bill of materials and the likes, the privacy and permissions and things like that. So tell us where you fit in the big picture.
And I'll give you like our basically a classic slide, right? Data awareness is the foundation, should be a
Hmm.
foundation of security. Why? So
Hmm.
I'll tell you typical enterprise programs, and that's why you see, right, every day people have all these big platforms spending millions of dollars, right? And they're still getting hacked, right? Overall. And we talk about good guys and bad guys and nation state and all that. But I think our fundamental controls are failing. Now we've been in that business for almost like what, 25, 30 years with all these large so-called names, right? All those vendors you see. So security world, right? Overall actually revolves around primarily three to four things, right? So number one is malware. That's where we basically waste all our energy in terms of the cut, because it's very relatable. So I talk it about, right, it's security by perception, right? So for example, if you go out of the house, or if you lock your car, you feel secure because you basically press that button twice, right? Yes, I secured. So it's in your mindset, right? And that's what basically is with the malware. Like, oh, I have a malware protection means I have security, and which is not the case at all. Number one is malware, and then around 2000 later, right, between 10, the network security technologies kind of became, right, firewall as a firewall, intrusion detection system. They're really good control, but they're still basically at the entry point, right? And I think that problem everybody has, whether it's cloud world, we have CASBs, right? Or cloud access brokers, as well as your firewalls, and all that. And third, we have a lot of this scanning, right? In terms of vulnerability scanning, database scanning, whether we have vulnerabilities or not. And we basically have thousands of pages of report, right? But those all things, right? When we do, and then there is identity management. So malware, network security, right? And all these investigative technologies, right? And then some projects like identity management, that is also kind of important. Uh, but in this entire whatever we are doing, right, three, four, or basically we are completely missing what data we are protecting. Say, for example, you run a financial services business, right, or you run an e-commerce business, right? So your security controls need to be aligned to that,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Protecting everything is protecting nothing. So e-commerce may have their customer data. Defense has to protect their secret or whatever confidential data, right? Healthcare need to do basically PII or the patient. So if you want to align your controls, you really need to know what you are supposed to protect. So in all these four things,
Yeah.
right, the main conversation basically is what data we are protecting, right?
Yeah.
And once we know that, then we can basically meaningfully encrypt or basically put the controls on good data.
So, Samir, that being said, after learning how important your work is, I just want to ask you one last question. You built this startup on a shoestring budget. I know this. We've had this conversation several times. You're in Maryland, and I know a lot of these companies are based here in the Bay Area. So it's been challenging for you to operate out of East Coast, but you're managing excellently. So tell us your startup story, in a quick nutshell. What was it like building a team in the East Coast, and how are you managing it so efficiently? Fiscally, you're very efficient. What are some of the things you feel you are doing right?
Yeah, so I'll tell you that's a very interesting question, and I think we just have less access to the resources and those large rounds. But I think you learn with that, right? I'm a security practitioner. I did this with basically passion to solve really some meaningful problems and rather customer problems, and I'm happy that our customers are actually getting benefited with that, and we are basically going that path. We did raise money from TEDCO, right? The small checks, comparatively what the East Coast. But I'll tell you, I was actually also like we were at RSA Early Stage Expo a couple of years ago, right? And there were like a ton of, or at least like 10, 12 startups, right? And I did like a quick survey. So pretty much means people have raised like 10 times the money. But if you see the stage, what we were doing in what versus, so I think it's just basically you always learn, right? How to basically learn your operation in, right, and focus your budget. Otherwise, I mean, you can have ton of budget for marketing, but I think most of the money, right, for those security value proposition is gone for marketing rather than actually solving some meaningful product and also actually helping your customers. So that being our core focus, and I'm sure if I can bring some basically meaningful security for some organizations which basically are working with us. I think they will be much more secure, and I think time will come with us that will do pretty well.
Wonderful. Samir, I know that you have a great startup story. We could not cover that in this segment. This segment was all about the importance of the product you're building, how you're focusing on data itself. Data is the new oil, it is driving the entire AI industry. So you are protecting data. So your company is doing a valuable service which has been overlooked by many cybersecurity incumbents. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's not just my company. I think if somebody can answer me that I know my all data, right, what my data assets are, and I'm able to protect them, I think that's a very happy answer I would love to get from CISOs, right, or data protection officers, or something like that. But I think it's very important to have what data you're protecting before you actually protect, right? In terms of, so we need to go from this traditional security paradigm, right? And whether you use a platform or all, of course, then I think you will be much more secure and focused, because I think you don't have unlimited resources. I mean, I've been there as a practitioner. You never have unlimited resources for security, right? But you are always on a, as I know the pain of the security professionals, you are always on a shoestring budget. So you really need to prioritize, right? When you align those controls to what exactly data are protected, you are much more in or rather better shape. And that's what our mission is. And we are basically accomplishing that with our customers, partners, and so forth.
Wonderful. So, Samir, all this being said, we still want to hear about how you went about building your startup. We got to know the what your startup does. We want to know how you did your startup. We also kind of understood the why of your startup. So, I really look forward to our next episode where you share your lessons of team building, and going through ups and downs in a startup journey, and how you managed yourself as on a shoestring budget as an efficient founder. I would love to learn more in the next episode. That being said, thank you so much for being with us today. Pitch Cafe loves Samira Ahirrao, and we look forward to more podcasts from your end. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
thank you, Vida. You've been wonderful, right? Happy to do the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.